The elevator door slid open with a soft whisper, revealing the marble entrance of Daniel Morrison's penthouse. He stepped out, loosening his silk tie with practiced ease. The business trip to Tokyo had ended 3 days early. Another successful merger, another victory in his empire of steel and concrete. At 35, Daniel had built Morrison Industries from nothing, earning his first billion before most people found their calling. His Italian leather shoes clicked against the polished floor as he moved through the foyer. The penthouse stretched before him like a museum of his success, crystal chandeliers casting rainbow prisms across white walls, original paintings worth millions hanging in perfect silence. This was his sanctuary, his fortress of solitude where every surface gleamed and every corner held its designated purpose. But something was wrong. A sound drifted from the kitchen that didn't belong. Soft babbling, the unmistakable murmur of children. Daniel's jaw tightened. He paid his staff handsomely for one simple rule: absolute privacy. No visitors, no distractions, no complications. His home was a machine of efficiency, running on schedules and systems that never failed. He moved toward the kitchen with predatory precision, his business instincts sharpening. Someone had broken the rules. Someone had violated the sacred order of his carefully controlled world. The sounds grew clearer. 2 distinct voices, young and innocent, punctuated by gentle Spanish whispers. His anger began to build like pressure in a boiler, each step forward adding fuel to the fire. The kitchen doorway appeared ahead, and Daniel steeled himself for confrontation. In boardrooms across 3 continents, CEOs trembled when he entered a room. Competitors knew better than to cross him. His own employees understood that his generosity came with ironclad expectations. Yet someone in his own home had dared to test him. The soft laughter of children echoed off the granite surfaces, a sound so foreign in his sterile world that it might as well have been thunder. Daniel's fists clenched at his sides. Whatever he found in that kitchen, someone was about to learn the consequences of betraying his trust. Daniel stepped into the kitchen and froze. The scene before him shattered every assumption he'd made during his march down the hallway. Elena Vasquez, his housekeeper of 3 years, stood at the granite island, wearing her usual blue uniform and yellow cleaning gloves. But strapped to her chest, in a gray fabric carrier, were 2 toddlers, pale-haired twins with enormous brown eyes that tracked his movement with curious innocence. "What the hell is this?" The words exploded from his throat like gunfire. Elena's shoulders tensed, but she didn't stop wiping the counter. She turned slowly, her weathered face showing exhaustion that ran deeper than physical tiredness. The babies shifted against her body, sensing the tension that had suddenly filled the room, like poisonous gas. "Sir, you weren't supposed to be back yet." Her voice carried a tremor, but underneath lay something unexpected resolve. Daniel had hired Elena because she was invisible, efficient, and never questioned his demands. She cleaned his 20,000-square-foot penthouse with military precision, managed his household staff, and disappeared into the background like smoke. But this woman standing before him, protecting 2 children with her body, seemed like a stranger. "That's your first thought?" Daniel's voice rose to a roar. "Not an explanation? You've turned my home into a daycare center and expect me to stand here quietly." The babies whimpered at his booming tone, their tiny fists clutching Elena's uniform. She began to rock them instinctively, murmuring soft Spanish words that sounded like prayers. "They're my sister's children," she said, her voice steady despite the storm raging in front of her. Daniel blinked, processing this information like a computer analyzing data. Elena had never mentioned a sister. In 3 years, their conversations had been strictly professional: schedules, supplies, the occasional instruction about entertaining clients. Her personal life had been as invisible as her presence in his home. "So what?" he snapped, stepping closer until his shadow fell across her face. "They're your responsibility now. Since when do I pay you to drag children into my house?" The twins pressed closer to Elena's chest, their innocent eyes wide with fear at the angry stranger towering over them. Elena straightened, her arms tightening protectively around the carrier. "Their mother is dead," she said quietly, each word dropping into the silence like stones into still water. "Their father disappeared when Maria got sick. They have no one left but me and my mother. Her voice cracked slightly on the word mother, revealing a pain so raw that even Daniel's fury couldn't completely ignore it. Not my problem, he shot back, but something in Elena's expression made his certainty waver. You should have found another solution, a neighbor, relatives, a shelter. Anything but bringing them here without permission. His business mind cataloged the violations: breach of contract, unprofessional conduct, potential liability issues. Yet the woman before him seemed unmoved by his corporate authority. Elena's laugh came out like a broken sob. A shelter? Do you know what happens to babies in those places? How quickly they disappear into a system that treats children like inventory. Her eyes blazed with protective fury. My mother begged me not to. She raised them after the funeral, fed them every meal, sang them to sleep every night. But last week she fell. Her back, her knees, 72 years of cleaning houses and raising children finally caught up with her body. Daniel felt an uncomfortable tightness in his chest. He'd built his fortune by reading people, understanding their motivations and weaknesses. But Elena's desperation was different from the calculated risks he encountered in business. This was survival, stripped of pretense or strategy. My mother can barely stand now, Elena continued, her voice growing stronger with each word. She can't lift 2 babies anymore, can't chase them when they cry. So I brought them here because I had no choice. I thought maybe you wouldn't notice, that I could keep them quiet and safe until I figured out something better. She paused, meeting his gaze directly. I thought wrong. The babies had grown quiet, sensing the emotional storm swirling around them. One small hand emerged from the carrier, fingers curling in the air as if reaching for something solid in a world that had already proven unreliable. Daniel stared at that tiny hand, feeling something shift in his chest, an unfamiliar sensation that felt dangerously close to sympathy. You lied to me, Daniel said, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. Elena's chin lifted defiantly, showing a strength that would have impressed him in any other context. I didn't lie, she corrected with careful precision. I hid them. Yes, that's betrayal. But it was 3 days, sir. Only 3 days of breaking your rules to keep them from breaking apart. Daniel pressed his palms against the cool granite counter, trying to regain control of a situation that felt increasingly foreign. So what now? You expect me to run my home around your family drama? To pretend this doesn't change everything? His words came out sharper than he intended, but Elena didn't flinch. I expect nothing, she said with quiet dignity that stopped him cold. Fire me, replace me, erase me from this house. But I'll leave knowing I didn't abandon them. I didn't look the other way when they needed me most. Her words hit him like physical blows, each one exposing something uncomfortable about his own character. One of the babies began to fuss, and Elena immediately shifted into a rhythm of gentle motion, whispering, Tranquilo, mi amor, in a voice that held all the tenderness missing from Daniel's sterile world. He watched this transformation, from defensive employee to nurturing guardian, and felt something crack inside his chest. The silence stretched between them, filled only by the baby's soft sounds and Elena's whispered comfort. Daniel realized he was witnessing something he'd forgotten existed, unconditional love in action, not the calculated affection he'd experienced in his romantic relationships, or the professional loyalty he commanded through paychecks, but something pure and selfless that demanded nothing in return. You should have told me from the start, he said finally, his anger deflating like a punctured tire. Elena's eyes glistened with unshed tears. I was afraid, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. Afraid you'd see weakness instead of necessity. Afraid you'd throw us all out without a second thought. I couldn't risk losing everything in one moment of honesty. Daniel stared at her, seeing not just an employee who'd broken the rules, but a woman carrying impossible burdens with grace he'd never witnessed in his boardrooms. I'm not firing you, Daniel said quietly. The words surprised him as much as they shocked Elena. She blinked, her mouth opening slightly as if she'd misheard. What? She breathed, clutching the babies closer to her chest. You heard me. Daniel's voice carried new weight, authority mixed with something softer. You made a mistake, a big one. But I've seen men with billions who wouldn't lift a finger for their own mothers. And here you are, carrying 2 babies while scrubbing my house clean. That kind of loyalty, that kind of strength, it's not something I can just dismiss." Tears spilled down Elena's cheeks, but she kept her chin high. "So what happens now?" she asked, her voice trembling with cautious hope. Daniel looked at the babies again, their innocent faces tracking his movements with curious trust. For the first time in years, he felt something shift inside his chest, a recognition of responsibility that extended beyond profit margins and stock prices. "Now we set new boundaries," he said carefully, his business mind already calculating possibilities. "They don't come here again unless absolutely necessary. But I'll arrange help for your mother, real help. Doctors, physical therapy, maybe a home health aide to ease her burden." He paused, watching Elena's expression transform from fear to disbelief to overwhelming gratitude. "And as for them," Daniel continued, gesturing toward the twins, "I'll see what can be done. Quietly. No shelters, no system that swallows children whole." The words came from somewhere deep inside him, a place he'd locked away during his ruthless climb to success. "Not for them," he added, meeting Elena's tear-filled eyes, "but for you, because you've proven something most people never do, that some promises are worth breaking rules for." Elena's knees nearly buckled. "Thank you, sir," she whispered, her voice breaking on each syllable. Daniel turned away, uncomfortable with the raw emotion filling his sterile kitchen. As he walked toward the hallway, he felt the weight of an unexpected responsibility settling across his shoulders. Behind him, Elena sagged against the counter, finally allowing herself to believe they might be safe. She kissed the tops of the babies' heads, whispering, "We're going to be okay, little ones. We're going to be okay." And for the first time in years, Daniel Morrison discovered that true wealth wasn't measured in dollars, but in the lives you choose not to walk away from.